A week doesn't sound like a long time until a software update arrives that forces people to completely rethink what they thought they knew about a platform. That's exactly what just happened with LibreOffice. For years, many people saw it as the free alternative sitting quietly in the background, useful but never quite exciting enough to challenge the big names. But that perception may have just changed overnight. LibreOffice has released a massive new update, and it's not just another minor patch or cosmetic refresh. This is one of those updates that genuinely changes the conversation around open source productivity software. And if you've ignored LibreOffice for the past few years, now might be the perfect time to look again. For a long time, LibreOffice had an interesting reputation. People respected it because it was free, open, and gave users complete control over their documents without forcing subscriptions or locking them into ecosystems. It was dependable, flexible, and available across multiple operating systems. Yet despite all those strengths, it always carried one major limitation in the eyes of many users. It often felt like the good enough option rather than the exciting one. It worked well for basic tasks, but when compared to Microsoft Office or cloud-based platforms like Google Docs, there were moments where it felt like it lagged behind. Sometimes documents didn't display exactly right. Sometimes spreadsheets behaved differently than expected. Sometimes performance wasn't as smooth as people wanted, and while none of these issues made LibreOffice unusable, they were enough to stop many people from making it their main Office suite. That's why this new update matters so much. It doesn't just add a few new tools and call it a day. It tackles some of the biggest long-standing issues users have been talking about for years. It improves speed, compatibility, workflow, flexibility, and overall usability in ways that make LibreOffice feel far more modern and competitive. One of the biggest additions in this update is native Markdown support. And this is a feature that could completely change how a lot of people use LibreOffice. Now, if you're not familiar with Markdown, it might sound like some niche technical feature that only developers care about. But in reality, it has become one of the most widely used writing formats in the world. Markdown is used everywhere. Developers rely on it for documentation. Writers use it for drafting content. Bloggers, note-taking enthusiasts, students, and even AI-assisted workflows depend on it because it offers a clean, lightweight way to structure text without dealing with complex formatting tools. Until now, working with Markdown in LibreOffice often meant awkward conversions or relying on third-party plugins. It wasn't seamless, and it created friction for people who wanted to combine modern text workflows with traditional document editing. That friction is now gone. With this update, LibreOffice can directly handle Markdown, import, and export. This may sound like a technical detail, but it represents a huge philosophical shift. LibreOffice is no longer just focusing on traditional Office work. It's adapting to the way people actually create and manage content today. Think about what this means for writers. You can draft quickly in a lightweight Markdown editor, then move your work directly into LibreOffice for polishing and professional formatting. You no longer have to jump through hoops or deal with broken structure during conversion. For developers, this means project documentation becomes much easier to manage. Technical notes, release documents, collaborative files, and structured documentation can flow naturally between development environments and polished document layouts without unnecessary formatting headaches. And for students, researchers, and content creators, this creates a bridge between fast drafting and formal presentation. It gives users more freedom to work the way they want, rather than forcing them into one rigid workflow. That alone makes this update incredibly important, but Markdown support is only part of the story. Another major improvement comes in the form of performance upgrades, and this might actually be the most noticeable change for everyday users. If you've used older versions of LibreOffice, you've probably experienced those occasional slowdowns. Large spreadsheets could feel heavy, complex documents sometimes took longer than expected to open, navigating resource-intensive presentations could occasionally feel sluggish. These weren't catastrophic issues, but they created just enough friction to make users notice. And in productivity software, small delays add up quickly. Every extra second waiting for a document to load interrupts workflow and affects the overall experience. This new update addresses that directly. LibreOffice now feels noticeably faster across the board. Documents open quicker, spreadsheets respond more smoothly, and the entire suite feels more polished in day-to-day use. This kind of improvement often gets overlooked because it isn't flashy. There's no giant new button to click or dramatic visual feature to showcase, but smoother performance is one of the most important upgrades software can receive because it changes how the software feels every single time you use it. When software feels responsive, it disappears into the background. You stop thinking about the tool and focus entirely on your work. That's the point where productivity software becomes truly effective. and LibreOffice is getting much closer to that level. Then there's file compatibility, which for many users has always been the biggest deciding factor. This is where Office suites live or die in the real world. You can have incredible features, perfect performance, and a beautiful interface. But if opening a docx file breaks, formatting or importing an Excel spreadsheet causes formula errors, people lose trust immediately. That's one of the biggest reasons many users stayed tied to Microsoft Office even when they wanted alternatives. Compatibility concerns created hesitation, especially for professionals and students who regularly exchange files with others. LibreOffice's latest update makes major progress here. Word documents open more accurately, spreadsheet formatting transfers more cleanly, presentation files retain structure more reliably. This means fewer frustrating surprises when collaborating across platforms. It means less time spent fixing alignment issues, reformatting tables, or troubleshooting broken layouts. It means users can move between ecosystems with greater confidence. And that matters because Office software rarely exists in isolation. Most people don't work entirely within one platform. They receive files from clients, classmates, coworkers, or organizations using different software. Better compatibility makes LibreOffice dramatically more practical as a primary tool. It removes one of the biggest psychological barriers that stop people from switching in the first place. LibreOffice Calc also received meaningful upgrades. For spreadsheet users, this is especially exciting because Calc has quietly become one of the most powerful free spreadsheet tools available. The update improves data handling, sorting capabilities, clipboard compatibility, and structural visualization. These aren't just cosmetic adjustments. They make complex spreadsheet workflows easier to manage and far more efficient. Modern spreadsheets are about much more than simple calculations. People use them for project management, visual planning, process mapping, forecasting, and collaborative analysis. Calc's improvements help it meet those growing demands. Writer LibreOffice's word processor also sees several quality of life improvements. Editing feels smoother, formatting consistency has improved, and document handling is more refined overall. Small frustrations that users may have tolerated in older versions have been reduced. Numbered lists behave more predictably. Tables render more cleanly. Font display feels sharper and more professional. Again, these changes may not sound dramatic on paper, but they directly affect daily usability. They make the software feel more polished and trustworthy. LibreOffice Impress, the presentation tool, also benefits from stronger media handling. This is especially important for users who embed video or interactive content into presentations. Presentation software has one unforgiving rule: reliability is everything. If media fails during a live presentation, it instantly damages confidence and disrupts delivery. This update significantly improves media playback support, making presentations more dependable for professionals, educators, and students. That's a very practical and valuable improvement. Another major advantage of LibreOffice remains its open source nature, and this update reinforces why that matters more than ever. We live in an era where more software is moving towards subscriptions, account-based ecosystems, and increasingly restrictive platforms. Access often depends on continuous payments, cloud integrations, and vendor-controlled systems. LibreOffice offers something refreshingly different. You install it, own your workflow, and use it freely. No subscriptions, no forced accounts, no hidden limitations. Your documents remain under your control. Your software remains independent of corporate ecosystem decisions. And your ability to work doesn't depend on maintaining a payment plan. This update strengthens that value proposition because it proves LibreOffice isn't just surviving as an alternative. It's actively evolving and improving at a serious pace. That's incredibly important because many people have long viewed open source productivity software as admirable but limited. This release challenges that assumption directly. It shows that free software can innovate. It shows that open source tools can modernize rapidly, and it shows that user-first development can produce genuinely competitive results. Of course, no major update launches perfectly. Some users have reported small bugs or minor issues, which is completely normal for software releases of this scale. But what makes LibreOffice different is how quickly its community-driven development model responds. Updates arrive regularly, fixes roll out consistently, and user feedback directly shapes future improvements. That creates a development cycle built around actual user needs rather than purely commercial priorities. It's one of the most underrated strengths of open source software. So, does this update really change everything? For many users, the answer is yes. If you're a student looking for a powerful Office suite without expensive subscriptions, this could completely transform your workflow. If you're a writer or technical creator, the Markdown support alone might justify switching. If you're privacy conscious and tired of ecosystem lock-in, LibreOffice has never looked more appealing. And if you're simply someone who wants professional-grade productivity software without strings attached, this update makes LibreOffice more compelling than ever before. The bigger picture here is that LibreOffice is no longer just the free backup option people install and forget about. It's becoming a genuinely serious contender in modern productivity software. This update represents maturity, it represents confidence, and it represents a future where open source Office tools are no longer seen as compromise. They're seen as legitimate first choice solutions. LibreOffice just dropped a massive update, and this time, it isn't hype. It's a real step forward. And it may have just changed the entire conversation around what productivity software can be.